do. Pop out chat. Move this over here. Put this here. Is this set to live? It should be. I'll put this down here. Put this up here. God, this monitor is not big enough. Hello. If I take this, I make this a very weird, wide shape. That would save me space. Hey guys, I'm just getting ready to do the patch notes here. Or finish the patch notes, and then I'm gonna play pubs with my homies. Okay, and then I need the new Dota patch. I see by fixing this, I messed it up. Dota 2 is locked. Let's do this. How does that look? Almost done, but not done. Lock. Okay, looks fine. Okay, hello. Work was good. We got to watch 2 pro games that were fun to watch, and we got to learn some things. And there is much more to cover, so I'm going to try to get through these quickly so that we can move on to actually playing games. Okay, I think we stopped around Naga Siren, Muerta, etc. The Ags, did we cover this? I don't think we did. Worst base int gain, the hero's still pretty good. Parting shot got removed, nobody ever bothered to go for it. It was just kind of weird. Deadshot upgraded with Ag Scepter, increases damage by 125. Deadshot AoE expands after it ricochets and pierces through enemy heroes as it fears them. So probably can hit like multiple heroes. And you get a little bit more damage, but probably AoE fear, which is kind of good. Gunslinger secondary shot now prioritizes heroes, then non-hero units, then buildings, okay? So it won't necessarily hit creeps as much, and the secondary shot chance is just straight up nerf, so your farm speed is going to be less on the hero. Deadshot cast range decreased. Max HP regen while inside the calling replaced with plus 50 health, so they buffed that talent at least. Although most people probably get this, but 150 health isn't the worst, I don't think. Deadshot damage replaced with plus 3% max HP regen. Okay, that's a 15 talent. Alright, that looks fine. Naga Siren, Eel Skin, bonus evasion per other Naga increased. Okay, so you have more evasion on this hero when your illusions are alive. Ensnare cooldown replaced with Reel in speed to make that a little bit better. Prophet is a universal hero. We didn't actually see him get picked today, so I don't think anybody justified him. Did I do this already? I can't remember. Ironwood Treant is worse in the ultra late game when you max that out. It's only getting 4 times instead of 6 times. But it is better early, so maybe a little bit of a trade-off here. And then this is done. Okay, this is one that I read a bunch of these off stream, but I think like half of the remaining ones I didn't read. This one's really cool. Makes enemies have their restoration amp decreased by the same value as Necrophos's gain. This is really, really good against some heroes. Against like Huskar, against an IO, against somebody that buys mech. Ghost Shroud, if used at the right time, could really make your hero more likely to get kills. They did nerf the damage on Heartstopper Aura a little bit, and the radius has gone down. But if you have that fast that increases the radius, it's less bad. But 700 is harder to use for sure. And then the Restore Amplification now also applies to Lifesteal and Spell Lifesteal. So that would mean that if you have Lifesteal or Spell Lifesteal on your hero, you will be getting way more regen. So if you do like Ghost Shroud Bloodstone with a Radiance or something, you probably can get really, really high values. And it's not terrible, hypothetically, to get Bloodstone because you would be getting a Dispel, which is good against a couple circumstances, but it's probably not worth getting Spell Lifesteal on this hero as an idea because you kind of need Radiance for it to be good, and even like Death Pulse and like the Shard ability, I don't think are really needed to. You don't need Spell Lifesteal. You already have a lot of heal and survivability built into your hero. You have heal just by staying alive, for example. But the important thing is that if it does apply to these things, these lifesteal and spell lifesteals, then Ghost Shroud with this facet of Rapid Decay is just going to be really fantastic. And this is just built in to the movement speed one anyways, right? So it's now an anti-heal and a movement speed facet, and I wouldn't be super surprised if it just has a higher win rate than the other one, but I don't know, we'll see. So yeah. Okay, Night Stalker, remove the Blinding Void. This is the one that makes it so you can't see your target. They changed Roshan's first move to the top hit at 20 minutes instead of 15. And then Hunter in the Night is now granted for free at level 1, which gives you 16 movement speed base and 15 attack speed. So your level 1 should be a lot better, especially with Night Regen, because now you just have an extra ability. You can both last hit with Void, and you can have Hunter in the Night, which means that you're going to be way more valuable before level 2, and you're also going to have this movement speed and attack speed at level 1 Bounty Rune fights, or before Bounty Rune spawns, so that's pretty cool. Basically a level 2 hero. This is basically like 50 movement speed, so it's kind of a big deal, how much you're going to be able to run down your opponents. Voidbringer max health, max level of Void can go up to 5, and if you do this, it deals 400 damage, has a 4-second night duration, which means you can make it night for 4 seconds, which is really good. And it becomes a point target ability with 300 AoE during the night. So during night, it's going to be an AoE nuke, which could increase your farm speed if you want to use it as such. Oh my god. Which is cool. Void no longer reduces vision. The night duration is weaker, so the slow is a little bit weaker. With the Void Bringer facet, though, the duration... Oh, it scales a little bit different. It's 2 at level 1. Okay, gotcha. So Void Bringer facet, the Void is just stronger in the first place. But I think most pros take Night Regen, if I'm not mistaken. And then 80 Void damage replaced with -1 Void cooldown. And then finally, the status resistance talent. This one's quite good. If you go Sanjiasha with this, it's actually really hard to stun Night Stalker. I've played against it in pubs a few times, and it's actually quite good. I have enjoyed it, or at least I found it a little annoying. Oh yes, that's right. This is the YouTube stream. All this shit is like way too small and not really valuable. I need to fix this. I'm not quite sure how to do it, but I will do something. I'll just put this over here. That will be fine. Okay. Next Assassin, Universal still. His damage per level is going to be way worse, so he doesn't get as much right-click damage just from being alive. Slightly more int gain, way more agility gain, and more strength gain. So his stats are just going to be a little bit nicer in terms of his raw oomph, but his right-click is just quite a bit worse. He will attack faster. The mana burn facet is reworked. This is the one that if you did over a certain chunk, it would mana burn, I believe. And it is reworked to just nail the target's max mana, I guess. And that's max, not current. So it's kind of like old Mind Flare, or old mana burn, basically. And then Impale cooldown is better. The damage or the mana cost is better. Mind Flare doesn't kill creeps instantly anymore, so you're not going to be able to get free levels with this like you were before. Okay, we're going to turn these off. I'm just going to turn this off briefly. And the bonus damage is decreased as well. But max mana as damage increased by 5% at all levels. So better at killing, but worse at farming for sure. And then they swapped the Spike Carapace talents more or less to 10. It does more damage reflect based on what you get hit with. And then the Vendetta damage is now at 15 for only 50. So it's really not that much damage. But it is going to make it harder to get kills now because that's at a much later level, which is kind of a bummer, of course. So that part isn't good. Alright, Ogre Magi, Bloodlust, bonus move speed decreased by a little bit. The Ignite DPS talent has been decreased a little. And Ogre's Fire Blast damage is decreased to 25. But mostly it's going to be this one that's kind of a big deal. It's a little bit less damage with Ignite. A little bit of movement speed reduction hurts him just a slight amount, and his carries too. Omni Knight's Guardian Angel Ag Scepter HP regen and heal amp is increased by 50%. So that's pretty sick for Guardian Angel if you really want to heal somebody. Drop that on somebody and then hit him with the first skill. And then Talent Repel Strength, HP regen per debuff increased from 3 to 5. It's a really long cooldown, so I'm not surprised that they're going to buff this one. Oracle's int gain is decreased a little bit. They buffed his Clairvoyant Curse, which was necessary because his other facet is the one that gives him Heal Amp. And generally, Heal Amp is just going to be better because spell damage, if you increase your spell damage, that gets reduced by somebody's magic resistance, whereas heals don't. So it makes sense that the one that does spell damage needs to be buffed over the heal, because otherwise you're not getting like comparable values basically. And then the false promise ags, which I don't even know what this does. The second fade delay invis and grants the ally bonus spell damage and reduce BAT. Okay, so it makes your hero like supercharged actually when you use it, and they're buffing it against spell damage heroes. I mean, it's potentially really good for some Leshrac type hero that you can ulti. If you're increasing his damage by 30%, we're talking a lot of damage, so that's pretty cool. And then level 15 talent, the ends and the debuffs that you end and damages that's increased a little bit. What's the other talent? I think the Purifying Flames one, yeah. So if you do dispel a couple things, you could potentially do a lot of damage with Fortune's End, especially when you're pairing it with this. However, I think you'd probably always get Purifying Flames if you're playing some kind of a core. I think that just makes more sense. OD Obsidian Decimator. Essence Flux max mana increase on proc increase from 4 to 5. I think that one is just worse. The other one gives you, if you like hit people with your ulti, you just get crazy amounts of heal when they cast spells on you. It like just offsets all the damage you're taking. I'm only doing the last 30% because I already read everything else in this patch earlier in the day, and you can find it on my YouTube if you want to watch the other stuff. But I wanted to get through this so that it's on record on my YouTube, and then I can play games afterwards. So 10 talent health replaced with Astral Imprisonment cast range. The mana as movement speed decreased by a lot, 1.5 to 1, so that's going to be a big difference. And then the Astral Imprisonment cast range talent got replaced with 8% Astral Imprisonment mana capacity steal. OD, which it does up to 25, so that would be an increase of up to 30, 33, which is kind of a big deal against the right heroes. I mean, we're talking about 80 mana per 1,000 mana that your opponents have. So if they've got like 2 or 3k mana or something like that, you're increasing your mana pool by like 200, which is going to mean like 26 more pure damage per right click. So it's kind of a big deal. It can really add up, certainly. And then 20 spell lifesteal replaced with 450 health instead, which is probably fine. Especially because he lost that health talent here at 10. So he'll be a little bit easier to kill pre-20, whereas before he was kind of just tanky, kind of fast, even with just right-click items. Pangolier did see some play today. Pros valued the new orbs, basically, and you can also get Orb of Corrosion as a tier 1 item now, so the -2 armor on top of that. So it's a little bit easier to deal swashbuckle damage than it was before, even though your right-click damage doesn't scale nearly as well. But that's usually when you're not swashbuckling, when you're simply right-clicking somebody. But these damage differences are really big at level 30, like just 54 less damage. It's a huge amount. His agility gain did go up, but I don't know if I care that much. It's a little bit more armor, you know. He does have more damage level 1, which is good, without having to buy any stat items, so that's an upside. But and then Rolling Thunder duration replaced with plus 15% attack damage as swashbuckle damage. What are the numbers right now? Oh, that's right, it does raw damage. So this means that this talent would allow you to basically get actual damage items, like a Daedalus, for example, to increase your raw attack damage. Or Deso, to be honest, would be kind of good. It would make an item like Deso better, because it gives you raw attack damage, basically. So if you have bonus attack damage... Thank you for the sub, I appreciate it. If you have raw damage, you can actually increase your swashbuckle damage better without having to proc necessarily. So that's kind of a big deal, potentially. And then this was your old 20 talent. I didn't even know this. I cannot join yet, unfortunately. I gotta finish this. And then Rolling Thunder cooldown nerfed a little bit, and Swashbuckle cooldown buffed. This is the one that people don't get, because they don't really find it good enough, I guess. The cooldown doesn't really drop enough. So, Phantom Assassin, they removed the Veiled One facet. This was the one where you were basically, it was basically like old PA where you had a chance to crit, and your dagger increased the chance. They nerfed Coup de Grace on Methodical a little bit because it was broken. It was doing 325% crit instead of like the 200% or something that the old one did. Like down here, 200% was the other one. So it basically did, it was like a level 2 ultimate at level 1. It was really good. And then now, whenever a dagger hits and doesn't kill the enemy with this one, it leaves a stacking debuff that lasts for 6 seconds. And when the debuffed unit dies, they launch 1 stifling dagger per stack that they were hit by at a random enemy around the target, prioritizing heroes. These daggers have 50% damage and slow duration values. So if you're daggering one guy multiple times in a team fight and then he dies, it's going to shoot out more daggers that potentially do a lot of damage. Stacks can't be dispelled, and each new dagger refreshes the duration of all current stacks. Recast range equals stifling daggers cast range center around the debuffed enemy. So yeah, if you're throwing a lot of stifling daggers and you're kind of like poking and prodding, this could be really good potentially if you blow a guy up. Maybe some like tanky hero that you hit a bunch, it could be kind of wild, but the bonus evasion per level is just straight up nerfed. This is probably needed, and this is one of the reasons that PA kind of just was strong, was because you did a lot of damage with Methodical, and you didn't really need to buy a lot of damage items to make it good. And then on top of that, you would pair that simple Battle Fury with tanky items that made you harder to kill, and you also had like Giga High Evasion. So any HP items that you were buying and any regen that you were getting just made your hero really, really difficult to kill, and made all your HP go farther. So this nerf was probably needed and will be significant in some cases. If your level bonus evasion per level, oh that's right. What's the base? The base is
The land
20%. So a
oracle
level
chose
20 PA
you.
is now only going to be 40% evasive, whereas before that was going to be 50. So a little bit of evasion lost. Stifling dagger movement slow is decreased. Blur isn't removed on attack by default. Okay. And then Kudura damage is nerfed, which this probably counts for Stifling Dagger Facet now. And then Fan of Knives, cooldown increase, mana cost increase. She has pretty bad int gain, so that could hurt her. Cooldown reduction for the 10 talent is nerfed. It's probably a little too good for Sweet Release sometimes, I would guess. And then they removed the Phantom Strike cast range to limit her mobility a little bit, and they did instead 15% Stifling Dagger damage. And then this Stifling Dagger damage talent was replaced with Phantom Strike cast range. So that's still there, but it's at a weirder place. And now her talents kind of look bad, basically. She used to have that nice power spike with the Phantom Strike cast range of 15, but now that that's delayed, you are limited to a mere 1000 cast range, which is still really, really far. But you can get Immaterial Evasion if you want it. The 15% evasion isn't bad at level 15 and onward. Stifling Dagger damage doesn't seem terrible either. It's 75% plus 80. So, I mean, you could get a lot of damage out of the left Stifling Dagger talent, especially if you're throwing daggers. There's quite a few. It kind of sucks to have your 20 talent be both Phantom Strike attack speed and strike cast range. You have to make a choice there. Do you want the mobility or do you want more attack speed? So that one's kind of rough for the hero. But yeah, Dagger build looks in some ways cool. There's a lot of lining up of the talents right now, so maybe that one's better. Maybe the new one's better. Alright, PL is the hero of the patch right now. It did lose a couple times in the pro games we watched, but basically there is probably a bug between the new item, which is Revenant's Brooch. It has a chance to crit, which then does magic damage, and right now illusions are proccing that proc for full damage. So Revenant's Brooch basically means that your PL does a lot of damage, because I think it works on all illusions, is what I've heard, but it makes them all do more damage. This facet, from what I read, is makes your illusions if you have other illusions, they also throw a Spirit Lance, but it's not real. But now with this one, it is real, and they each do 25%. So if you have 4 illusions, you're doing twice as much Spirit Lance damage to one guy. Um, Lance copies don't deal any, just to the primary target. So if it does bounce, it doesn't do like extra damage to those guys as well. And then Spirit Lance, Ag Scepter bounce count decreased from 2 to 1, and the bonus illusion damage has been increased individually. So it's a little bit better. Like Ags is still kind of good, but it's going to do a lot more damage to the primary target you hit. And then Juxtaposed Illusion damage taken has decreased by just a little bit. They're still going to get shredded pretty fast. Spirit Line damage replaced with slow duration, which is okay. And this Illusory Armaments damage increased by 5% because apparently nobody's getting it, which is interesting.
Marked for death.
The 2 Phantom heroes. What's the other 25?
Your
Doppelganger cooldown. I actually do get the Illusory
ready
Armaments
to
one, but
strike.
I haven't played the hero that much in a bit, so I don't really know if it's better. Alright, Phoenix is now a strength hero. Bad late game damage, damage per level is weaker, but his level 1 damage is unchanged. So his right click is definitely going to be less effective if you have to buy strength items. They buffed this facet that nobody gets to do more blinding of evasion, which is kind of good. And then they replaced this 10 talent, which everybody gets, with more blinding sun mischance. Which I'm going to look at the numbers of that really quick because I don't play the hero very often, and Phoenix. Oh, fuck. Stackable 2% mischance per second, and that would mean it would jump up to 2.5. So it's like 25% better for the mischance, which could be quite good, potentially. I don't think it's bad, probably. Icarus Dive Slow is probably not bad either, upping the slow to 50% instead. Actually, does everybody get the other one instead? I can't remember. I think both 10 facets are, I mean, this one's maybe better. 50% slow for 4 seconds is really not anything to scoff at, but pretty small for Phoenix because the hero's popular. Primal Beast Romp and Stomp facet got removed, which means he's got a new one. Provoked Beast, in addition to stacks from hero damage, which is when you take damage, Primal Beast also gains 2 upper stacks upon being stunned, hexed, taunted, feared, or root. So any disable is just going to give you more uproar stacks. So if that doesn't end up affecting you, or if you still have the ability to chase afterwards, you're going to be able to slow your opponents and run them down, which is good. And then Ferocity they buffed. The AoE bonus is now granted at the start of each slam instead of the end. I'm glad that they did this sometimes where there's one facet that was just simply too good and they just fucking removed it. They're like, alright, see ya. It's too hard to like make other cool facets semi-comparables. That one's just gone now. And then the AoE bonus straight up is just going to be higher, and it starts at the start of each slam instead of at the end. So the AoE is probably going to be like giga high here, is my guess. Bonus AoE per hit increased by 5%. Bonus AoE duration increased by 10 seconds. So after you do get a full pulverize off, your trample should be really a big AoE. Onslaught, knockback radius, and distance are no longer affected by AoE increase. So this probably won't affect Onslaught at least, but your second skill will, which is kind of cool. And there's still like auras and stuff that are going to be pretty effective. Okay, level 10 talent. Onslaught damage replaced with 20 damage. That was so less here, but more right click and more of your second skill, which is cool. Puck's innate is going to heal less per attack that you dodge with phase shift. Or and if you disjoint, it doesn't have to be phase shift. It could be like Puck Orb too. So that means Puck is going to have weaker mana regen in the lane. Dream Coil mana cost has gone up as well, so the resources on Puck are just simply going to be weaker. And then just tiny little pivots to these two talents is not that big of a deal. So we did actually see a Pudge today in the pro game. The Flare Hook facet got removed. The Eat and Ally got removed from Shard. They buffed Fresh Meat facet, which is actually quite good because every time that you deal damage with Dismember ticks, that is when you get the strength increase. And Jenkins said that when you lose the strength afterwards, you actually heal for whatever you gained, and the HP you're gaining from the strength, it isn't based on your percentage of current HP. That's just HP that you're given. So it actually does increase your strength quite a bit. But today, Pure on BetBoom team played Rotten Core, and he played Carry Pudge with an IO. And as you activate Rot for up to 5 seconds, it gives you maximum 80% max bonus attack damage. And then after you turn off Rot, it rapidly decays. So if you turn off Rot, it's not very good. But if you are Rot chasing, it basically makes Rot less of a like I lose HP, you lose HP. It's I lose HP, you lose HP. You're slowed, I'm not, and my right click damage is stronger now. So if you do manage to get right click items on the hero, it's pretty fantastic, especially if you're getting attack speed from something else. So it just helps with your right click trades. He bought an AC later on, which definitely made sense. Anyways, Meat Hook is now upgraded with Ag Shard to be similar to the Flare's Hook facet, that it does a percentage of damage based on how far they're pulled. And when Meat Hook hits an ally, the cooldown is reduced by 50%. So you could use it on allies too if you want. So kind of interesting. And then Dismember no longer upgraded with Ag Shard. So those are the changes to Pudge. Pretty interesting. I think this is ultimately going to be good because it's going to make Pudge support probably like way weaker. I mean, Meat Hook is still going to do good damage, but pre-60 hero is weaker. You can't just get this like bomb-ass hook from long range to like take out 400 HP from somebody. So that part of it is gone, which is, it's like, okay, sure, I'm sure it was fun to play, but like it's so boom or bust. If you hit the hook, yes, you can do a lot of damage. If you miss the hook, your hero's fucking useless. So hopefully Pudges will play a little bit differently as a result, because it's not gonna feel good if you're not getting those like crazy meat hook dopamine hits, you know. And even if you do hit that hook, you have to hook them under tower or something for the damage to actually mean something. So I think that's good. Pugna got some interesting changes. Life Drain no longer kills enemy illusions. So that means with Shard, you can't just like clear all of them anymore. It also no longer restores mana, which only happened if you're life draining while you are full HP, and they are not full HP. Or sorry, when you're full HP and your mana is missing, you would start draining mana. The HP you're draining would turn into mana. So that's gonna hurt his mana regen a little bit. However, the ally drain and heal per second is increased. So this is the amount of health that you're pumping into your teammates. So they buffed Life Drain on allies, but it has less usages, and using it against enemies is not going to restore your mana. So you might have more mana issues on Pugna, without a doubt. And then they changed the 25 talents a little bit, which don't really matter that much. But the Netherward damage per mana is quite good. I'm sure this would chunk damage really hard. And Nether Blast damage isn't terrible either, because you can use it to, siege towers and damage heroes and stuff like that. Okay. Queen of Pain, Masochist. The outgoing spell damage reflected from Masochist, this is the one that increases your spell damage a lot, is up. So the damage that you deal to them is going to deal more damage back to you. So it's going to be less efficient to get this. You are going, like a simple spell lifesteal item isn't necessarily just going to solve the item by itself. Bondage is a new fast, or it's a, actually got to look at it in game. Anyways, and now makes spell lifesteal apply to reflected magic and pure damage. So, let's take a look at this really quick. Queen of Pain, this is the lifesteal one, I believe.
I need no kingdoms. All that I see is mine.
Because any sources of spell lifesteal also apply to pure damage. Okay, gain spell lifesteal that increases with proximity to her enemies. It's at its maximum when the enemy's 300 units are closer to her. Minimum when it's 800 or farther. Yeah, your min lifesteal is 2 and your max is 14. So you just get spell lifesteal. However, they just added this to return spell damage back to enemies. It also applies to pure and magical reflected damage. So if somebody does spell damage to you that does pure damage or magic damage, you as a Queen of Pain will reflect the damage back to them, which is how it's been. All sorts of spell life also apply to... I'm confused for a second. Only on this one. Now also makes spell lifesteal apply to... Basically, if you're reflecting magic or pure damage back to them, you can now spell lifesteal from that in addition, is how I take it. Whereas before that reflected damage was not spell lifestealable, but in her case it kind of is. Which is a rare case, from what it seems like, of being able to heal based on a reflected damage, basically. So... yeah, kind of interesting. It's probably still worth... oh, I see, they made it an innate ability. So it's just built in now. Now also makes all spell lifesteal decreased. Okay, so the minimum is a lot worse than it used to be. It used to be 2 at minimum. So like from long range, you're not reflecting that much. But I guess, but yeah, if they cast spells on you, it normally reflects it, right? Because if you cast a spell on Queen of Pain, she'll deal damage back to you. I don't know, this tooltip is kind of weird, right? Am I crazy?
By means mundane.
Forward.
Prepare for battle.
So that did not reflect.
This I presume is the end of my reign.
Yes.
So it has to be bondage now. Okay.
Prowling.
So they removed the reflect basically from the spell damage you deal to her. It only works on bondage now, and you can spell lifesteal from it as co-op. So if you are in melee range, you're probably going to be taking... I don't know what the reflect damage is, unfortunately. That's the part that's confusing to me. How much damage gets reflected? It doesn't really say. All sorts of spell lifesteal also apply to pure damage. Why does it say that? I don't know. Gain spell lifesteal increases with proximity to enemies. So you get spell lifesteal built in on Masochist now, right? Is that what that's saying? Why is it worded so weird? Am I crazy? Is this not like worded weird?
What's on the menu today?
Onward.
Where does the time go?
Prepare for battle.
After them.
Under attack.
So the damage is being reflected. Spell lifesteal that increases the proximity to our enemies. So
I'll
it
take my
probably means that
time.
like if I do this from range, it's
Feel
different.
my claw.
So if I do this from like
Sometimes you
long
just
range,
need strength.
I probably get less spell life still doing this. It's probably what's going on. Gotta change this from earlier today.
This way walks pain.
I don't know, it's kind of confusing to me. Shadow Strike damage initial is buffed a little bit. Egg Scepter no longer increases initial damage by 50. Huh. I don't know, this shit is confusing to me. Razor Static Link. Ag's Shard no longer pulls Razor and his target closer together. Instead, it slows the target's movement speed by 1 times the amount of damage stolen while the link is active. So, yeah, you can slow your opponent a lot better, which is kind of good because you kind of struggle with movement speed a little bit, and this is one way to do it that doesn't necessarily pull them together in a weird way. Storm Surge Strike's damage is now classified as reflection damage, which means you actually can't spell Lifesteal from this anymore. So the Bloodstone Razor build, I'm sorry to say, so sorry about this, it's dead. It's dead, guys. It's just not going to work anymore. Level 10 talent, Plasma Field damage replaced with Plasma Field slow duration. Okay, for some more control. Spell Life Steal no longer works with skills that deal pure damage. Unless you're Queen of Pain, I guess. The one facet makes Quap ultis do this. Okay, that's why it specifically says it, because her ulti is pure damage, right? Okay, so basically that's the nerf to Quap then, right? Is that because her ultimate doesn't spell lifesteal and you buy spell lifesteal anyways, you are hurting yourself by using Sonic Wave, guaranteed. Unless you go bondage. So it's definitely going to be more dangerous because if you just bought the Dagon, it kind of solved all your problems, right? It's like all of your spells would heal you, but now if you hit like a huge ulti on like multiple heroes, you could potentially die if you're not tanky enough. That makes a lot of sense. Did I read that earlier in the patch notes? I don't remember. Alright, Ricky changes. They change backstab a little bit. You get Hero Assist XP rescaled. So instead of just being like giga high in the second one, it now scales up a little bit, but it ends up being a lot better in the late game, which is kind of potentially good. And then Ricky also gets bonus experience for courier and ward kills, which is quite cool. Which should help make up for some of the other stuff in the first 6 minutes or so. Thank you, Joe, for the subs. Tricks of the Trade when Ricky kills a non-hero unit during Tricks of the Trade, the cooldown is reduced by 0.75. So if you go an Ags build, you might be able to really decrease your cooldowns by a bit.
I am Riki.
The cooldown is 12 seconds. So if I kill a creep, it's 0.75. If I kill 2 creeps, it's 1.5. So if I kill 4 creeps, we're talking 3 seconds. It would drop to 9. So that definitely makes Ags a lot better. And it does still give you 4.5 agility bonus. So that's just a buff to core Ricky, basically. It doesn't happen that much on support Ricky, but sometimes creeps do die, and who knows, maybe it'll make a difference. Smokescreen also no longer buffs allies, used to provide an evasion bonus against attacks from enemies that stand outside of the smoke cloud. So that probably means if you smoked your allies while they're attacking into the smoke cloud, they can't hit them, and that's not the case anymore. The smoke screen would have to be on top of your opponents that are trying to attack out, I think. Octarine Ricky. That's an option, but it would only lower the cooldown by like 3 seconds. I feel like you're probably better off buying other items, but maybe it could be good. Okay, and then Tricks of the Trade cooldown replaced with -1 Cloak and Dagger fade delay, which would drop the fade delay down to 1, which is quite little actually. Tricks of the Trade applies a basic dispel. That one's not bad either though. Alright, Ringmaster got added to Captain's mode. He did get played today, but he lost. They added a new facet. Basically, the left facet is all of his old things that you're used to, and his right facet is 3 new tricks. One of them scans an area, global cast range for 4 seconds, so you can use it for vision, which is kind of cool. The unicycle, you ride a unicycle and you ride around, but if you hit trees, you destroy them in slow unicycle, and if you attack, use abilities, take damage, pick up runes, basically fucking anything, then you crash into them and your little unicycle is gone. So you can kind of use it to like get across the map. It's kind of like a phase boots or riding a penguin or something like that. And then weighted pie, you toss a pie onto the enemy, it knocks them back and reduces their vision to 50. Vision recovers over 2 seconds. Pretty big knockback, seems like 300 range or something. And the target's allies won't provide their vision for them over the duration, so just a vision thing. The pie instantly kills any non-ancient creep. Oh, I didn't know it killed a creep. That's cool. So you could use it to farm a little bit if you do get kills, but typically you're going to want to use it for other stuff. Pushing people around is kind of good with your ulti too. It gives you another choice of a way to like drop the ulti. They're not looking at it. You hit them with the weighted pie to knock them back, and now they're looking at it, kind of a thing. Mira thought that the base three are just way better, which makes sense. Funhouse Mirror is probably the weakest of the three, but Strongman Tonic and Whoopee Cushion are really valuable. So she suspects that the classics are the way that it's going to go, which sounds about right to me. Rubik's Spell Steal mana cost facet has been buffed big time late game, 80% less mana cost on the spells that you're stealing. Fade Bolt damage talent replaced with Might and Magus damage resistance. This is the one where if you get int, I believe, um,
Grand
yeah.
Magus.
Spell Amp also increases your attack damage and your magic resistance. And this will be plus 25% on that, which probably means it's going to go to like 0.9 something and 0.9 magic resistance. So yeah, not terrible. I think it's pretty good. It's going to make it harder for you to die, especially if you're core Rubik. It makes more sense. And then Telekinesis Lift Stun Duration has been buffed because people have been taking Fade Bolt cooldown. Oh no, it's the Stolen Spells cooldown. That one's very popular. And then Telekinesis cooldown reduction increased up to 5 seconds. That's other than the Fade Bolt. That would drop it down to a 10-second stun, which is quite good too. Okay. Sand King base damage increased. His base is basically the same. His stat gains are better by just a little bit. Damage gain per level is garbage, so your right click is still bad. And then Burst Strike Stun replaced with Caustic Finale Rate is kind of middling changes, just worse, I would argue. Shadow Demon does less damage per hit on Shadow Poison, doesn't matter that much. Demonic Purge down 1 second, which is probably fair. 6 was like stupidly long. And then Demonic Cleanse also 1 less. You don't have to skill your ult for it to be castable, which is great. And it doesn't upgrade with levels to Demonic Purge. The cooldown 60 at all levels. The heal is 450 at all levels. The mana cost is the same, and you don't get multiple charges with Ags anymore. So nerf to Ags on Shadow Demon, but SD is still quite good, so this isn't a big deal. And then the cleanse heal damage replaced with just bonus damage. This talent is just straight up worse. And then minus 30 Demonic Purge cooldown no longer affects Demonic Cleanse. So they're just separating the two abilities. This probably gives them better control over buffing or nerfing either thing individually. Alright, Shadow Fiend, Shadow Mire, Shadow Raise no longer slows attack speed. Movement speed per stack is rescaled from 5 to 8 to 3 to 12. So better slow later on in the game if you do want to do multiple raises. Feast of Souls buffed a little bit, mana cost dropped, attack speed buff, and duration is scaling okay. And then they removed the Cluster Cluck facet. That was the previous one. It was kind of weird. It was you could Cluster Cluck an ally to dispel them, but it wasn't that fantastic, I don't think. And then it gave you multiple foul play like chickens when you'd get low. But now they've got Chicken Fingers, which will attacking an enemy hero transforms them into a chicken with 100 movement speed for 1 second. So you have every 15 seconds you can hex somebody for 1 second, which is pretty cool. Ag Shard now is going to increase your foul play damage reduction duration to 1.5 seconds. So that would be how long you are invulnerable when you change into a chicken, I believe.
I am Shadow Shaman.
Duration 3 seconds. The incoming damage reduces to 0 for 1 second. So it's only half second more. And it adds a 0.1 second invulnerability time before it, which I assume makes it impossible to take damage, but doesn't. Upon triggering it, oh, so if you buy the shard, it basically gives you the old facet, pretty much. They will spawn and try to confuse enemies. Yeah, it's basically like old facet as a shard now. Okay, good to know. Shackles no longer upgrades with Aghanim's shard. It's now upgraded with Scepter. You increase the cast range from 450 to 600, so it's 150 cast range. Shackled units expel an Aethershock every 0.9 seconds that affects all enemies within 6 turn units for 100% of Aethershock's damage value. Someone told me you could use it on allied heroes too. Shackled units can't be damaged by the effect. It also allows you to be cast on both enemies. There it is, including Serpent Wards. You can cast on Serpent Wards. Ah, that's interesting. Allied units are not disabled, and the shackle is broken if they travel farther than 2,000. So you could put it on a tanky guy when they run in, and then it's just zapping every 0.9 seconds for a couple seconds, which should be for 0.9. It's 1.8, 2.7, 3.6. So you'll get like 4 zaps out of it. So it's like 4 Ether Shocks, which is pretty good considering the radius is 600. So it seems pretty good. Thanks for the raid, Moxie. Appreciate it. Use it on the Giga Ward. You could, but it's probably better to use it to disable an enemy. So you're disabling the enemy, damaging him, and doing an AoE. But I guess it doesn't damage the guy that you're shackling. That's the downside. So if you want to do more damage to him, doing it on a ward would make sense. And then ward's attack damage replaced with +1 ward attack targets, which is much better for big ward users, because the big wards are really bad against like a creep wave, basically. So that being built into a talent instead of having to buy like an Ags, I think is pretty fair. Oh my god, these arms are like way too short. I'm like hurting my arms. Ether Shock damage is nerfed a little bit because it would have been way too good with Ags anyways. Alright, Silencer basically just got put back to old Silencer, which I kind of understand, but I'm a little sad about it because I kind of enjoyed Ags in the last patch, that one game that I got it. But they're basically, it's just back to normal is kind of what it read like. I'm gonna double check that because when I read through it carefully, that's what it felt like.
Will silence you.
It's just normal again.
I bear the gift of yes. With quickness.
Prepare for
I have to
battle.
change it every time, huh?
I go like
Okay, so it just extends the range. That's what it does. Literally the same as before. So if they cast a spell while they're arcane cursed, they don't get silenced anymore. It just elongates the amount of time that it's burning them. However, last word is like old last word. You just cast on them, and it will elongate the silence duration. So, you know, the two abilities together can do a lot of damage, and this just does pure damage and steals int, and it doesn't silence them anymore. I thought the other design was a cool idea, but it just did not have enough control.
Yes.
Simply put, it just wasn't good. Silenced enemies take 1.5 to slow in damage. Duration increase when they cast a spell. Pause as long as the target's silenced. Here's the initial damage. Here's the damage over time. There's the radius. Movement slow, penalty duration. It's all fine. It looks about normal. Mana cost is kind of high, but you got a lot of int, so eh. Ability duration can be decreased by stats resistance or increased by debuff duration bonuses. This does more damage at level 1, which is fine. Last word is reverted. Gives you vision of them, damage and silence if they cast a spell or if the enchantment timer expires. Base damage, int multiplier. The downside is the Ags is still the same. It doesn't enhance last word like it used to. It's going to be Arcane Curse applies on all enemies, which is fine. I mean, the silence one was pretty cool for disrupting supports. But now it's just going to be like, okay, well, I guess you can use it with global silence. You're using it with global silence. So I suppose you're getting, 6 seconds, up to 6 seconds of Arcane Curse damage, doing 1.5 times more damage. Let's do a quick check on this, see how much damage it does. There's also still talents that increase Arcane Curse. And now that you do a little bit more damage here, I'm just going to do a quick dummy target.
Whisper.
And then I'm going to buy a quick axe.
Prepare for battle.
I go.
So I did 360 damage to everybody with a level 1 global silence, assuming they don't dispel it, of course.
Silently.
If I do this, I think he does get hit by 2. I mean, it's just going to be double damage, right? I mean, it's pretty good. 780 damage after reduction means I did about 1,000 damage. So if you do have Ags and you do Arcane Curse, you could probably get Refresher, to be honest, and do like kind of crazy damage. Just solve some problems here.
Silently.
It's kind of a shitload of damage.
I cut a path.
Obviously very, very mana expensive, but Refresher Ag's kind of sick for the damage output. That's assuming they don't have a single fucking Dispel by the time you have Ag's Refresher, which is not going to be the case at all, but kind of interesting. I mean, he's just old. He's back to old Silencer. Oh, this talent got removed, so that doesn't. But this is Arcane Curse penalty multiplier. Oh, I see. Instead of 1.5 times slow and damage, it would become 2. So you probably can do even more if you get this, like quite a bit more. So you would do double damage with your Arcane Curse when they're silenced instead of 50% more. So that's quite good. And this talent, which was kind of cool, got replaced with Last Word AoE. Oh, okay. So by 20, you can actually start farming on this hero no matter what. So that's kind of good. You don't have to buy like an axe for it. Can you do some neutrals? I think it only applies to heroes, not to every enemy. Silencer doesn't do pure damage anymore. Did I say pure damage? If I did, I meant like lots of damage. But yeah, you are right. Glaives of Wisdom does magic damage now, no longer does pure. Sky, Ruin and Restoration. The spell Lifesteal is rescaled. It's better early and a little bit weak later, but this is still really good. Arcane Bolt base damage is decreased early, but the mana cost drops by 10, which is kind of helpful. Agshard search range is dropped. No longer has a creep damage penalty. I didn't know that it did. Good to know. Ag Scepter search radius changed. So basically these three things are just going to group a little bit better around the initial guy that you cast it on, which is kind of good. So there's a better chance that it like hits a creep near a guy that's standing on a creep wave rather than hitting some like hero in the very back of the team fight that you don't necessarily want to get hit with concussive shot. So it's probably most useful for Mystic Flare. Better chance that like the two Mystic Flares like overlap on one guy. Slardar got some play today. I didn't see what facet they went, but there's a lot of rivers, right? So hypothetically, you should be able to run around the map more with Guardian Sprint. Corrosive Haze armor transfer is increased by a bit, so you get more armor when you decrease their armor. In this one, your speed duration from Guardian Sprint is just better. The numbers are a little bit worse, but you get this extra speed burst. I think you're hasted at first too. Your HP regen increased just by being in water, which is kind of a lot, especially if you're in mid. You just got 2.5 regen, I believe, just right off the bat. So that's kind of good.
You're in deep
Yeah, Puddle
water.
Trailer River, just 2.5 regen, 1 armor, 8 bonus damage, just at level 1, 18 movement speed. That's pretty sick, actually. And then, so they're in Crush, you get a percentage increase of puddle radius. So the total radius is decreased, but this means that if you get any AoE increasing items, I can't remember where I saw something that could increase AoE. That wasn't Bloodstone. Wasn't there something else? I can't remember. But these exist to potentially be useful for those AoE increasers. So it's kind of interesting. Bash of the Deep no longer deals bonus damage to creeps. And then Corrosive Hail duration, Haze duration is reduced a little bit. Ag Scepter will upgrade it, which increases the trail duration by 5 seconds, trail radius by 80%. So basically, you're more likely to be able to chase somebody down who is creating a water trail, right? Yeah, it makes a water trail. Leg Day is slow resistance. Yeah, 100% slow resistance for 2.5 seconds. Speed burst, movement speed, extra 8. Is that how it works? Do you just get an extra 8% for 2.5 seconds with slow resistance? Maybe? I guess that's what it is. Slark, not Clinks. Barracuda now causes Slark's attacks to apply non-stacking debuff that reduces the target's armor by 1, 2, 3, 4 for 2 seconds. So as you level up as the game continues, their armor is just less, which means I don't necessarily think you need to go some like Deso or something, but it does make Barracuda better than before. I'm glad I played this recently because the Linger was basically just movement speed and regen, but you do lose out on a lot of DPS because of losing the other facet. So being able to reduce their armor by a tiny amount is going to increase your damage by, 6 to 20% of DPS increase. So it's fine. Depth Shroud radius decrease because this shard is just so good for lots of cases. Shadow Knight's attack speed increased. Estimative duration decreased again. Just nerfing the things that are a little bit too good. Snapfire just looks like she got a nerf. Her stacking goes up a little bit, like her agility and stuff, but like her damage per level is way worse. Lil Shredder does damage as a percentage, so like her damage being decreased is just really bad for her. I don't know. I mean, her level 1 damage is unchanged, which is kind of good, so hypothetically she should do a lot of damage early game. But I think it gets increased by your facet anyways. So losing out on extra universal hero benefits just seems kind of weak. I don't know. I'm not sure this one's that good. Sniper take aim now has an overhead indicator when the ability is active. Shrapnel movement speed slow replaced with take aim bonus attack range. Okay. And then take aim duration replaced with 150 assassinate damage. This is people didn't really get this one. They would go the attack speed. Attack speed talent is replaced with 45 attack speed during take aim. So they're really trying to encourage people to use take aim. And then take aim armor replaced with +2 take aim duration, which makes sense. If it gives attack speed, gives you attack range, they're really being like, hey man, use this skill. It's not bad. All right. This one is interesting. Spectre is one of the surprising universal heroes now. Her agility, or her damage per level goes up by a lot because before her agility was really garbage because she wasn't that much of a right-click hero. However, level 1 damage is the same. Her damage gain per level is way better. As you can see, at level 30, you do a massive 150 damage per attack. Buying things like Manta Style are going to be stronger on the hero now, just because they give you a lot of generic stats. They reworked Forsaken. This is the one where Desolate would proc even if enemies were near. I kind of liked it, but this one's going to be different. Desolate is dealing more damage with your hero, but your illusions can no longer trigger it. So Manta on this build is just straight up worse than it was before. Manta was such a perfect spec item because obviously you're dodging danger, but you're also they're hitting for like tons of pure damage each illusion. So that doesn't exist anymore. It's going to be based on your hero. So hypothetically increasing your attack speed a lot would make this a lot better because it ends up doing quite a lot of damage at later games. Because there are talents that make it better, I believe. Let's see if they're still there. Desolate damage at 15. So, I mean, look at this. 155 bonus damage. 122.5 bonus damage at level 7 if you want it to be. Like, that is crazy. That's a crazy high number. That if you get on top of a hero and you attack them a couple times, like, you are doing giga high damage. 70 pure damage isn't bad either. The downside is they have to not have allied units near them. So there's going to be a lot of times where this probably just doesn't proc. So that's the downside if you put too many skill points into it. And it's also not good against the first couple creeps you kill. First 2 creeps you kill in a 3 creep camp, you're not getting the bonus damage. So it's kind of bad there, and that's one way the other one was bad. But this is going to be good for ganking, certainly. They also changed reality from decreasing the cooldown. This is the one that everybody got in the pro scene. They also nerfed dispersion by a little bit, worse than the laning stage. And then shadow step cooldown is worse at the late game, but same early. And then yeah, the reality cooldown is 1.5 seconds, which basically means that you don't have to get Twist the Knife anymore. Twist the Knife will, when you ulti in, it's going to do an extra Shadow Dagger, which is good for burst. But before, you had to get this one because it lowered the cooldown of reality down to like a second. But now that it doesn't lower the cooldown anymore, you don't necessarily have to get it because you aren't necessarily doing this cheesy like jump in, kill a guy, jump out right away play. It's more like, do you want an extra dagger when you jump in? And that's like all it does now. That's it. And and the Haunt and Shadow Step illusions don't disappear when the target dies. Whereas before, like if you kill the guy, your illusion back where you started disappears. Whereas with this one, if you don't jump back early, then you sometimes get stuck there, and then you're in the middle of the enemy squad, kind of a thing. So you won't have that on this one. This one, you're kind of committed once you jump in, or you need to like kill him and TP out, or you need to like jump back and let your illusion get the last hit, kind of a thing, which is kind of hard to do and it's kind of spooky. I've definitely lost games that way. And then 25 talent Haunt illusion damage replaced with plus 25% all illusion damage, which makes sense. This will make your Manta style better, and it's going to make your ulti better, and it's going to make your Ag Scepter better, and not just your Haunt ones. Which, like most of the time, it was kind of just a garbage talent. Like nobody really wanted it because they jump into their Shadow Step one almost right away anyway. So Spirit Breaker Imbalanced Facet. I will not show you the pun. The one over here. But Bull's hit, greater bash chance increases if you bash more than one hero within the last 10 seconds. So that happens when you charge through enemies, and that's heroes, by the way. So each additional hero past the first increases the bash chance by 17%. So you're kind of like guaranteeing, if you get a good charge off, that you're going to get a bash afterwards. Planar pocket duration increased by 1. This bash chance increase replaced with minus 3 seconds greater bash cooldown. So if your attack speed is really high, you can bash more rapidly. Because that's one of the downsides to having, oops, I did not mean to press that button. One of the downsides to having high attack speed is that you can still only bash every 1.2 seconds. However, the 25 greater bash damage talent decreased from plus 25 to 20. So this is still the damage at 25. So your charge through bash damage can still be increased at 25, but at 20 you can't up the chances of it proccing anymore. Maybe because nobody was taking it? I don't know. I think I've taken this before. I feel like pros take the bulldoze barrier damage though. That's what it seems like. Alright, Storm Spirit, level 10 talent, plus 20 overload damage, replaced with plus 25 overload attack and movement speed slow. Which, let's see how much it does. They did pick Storm today, that it did lose.
The calm before the storm.
The slow is 80 on both. So you would be getting a little bit extra attack slow and movement speed slow if you so wish. The other one is mana regen, I believe. Yep. It's okay. It's going to keep people in place longer, but I feel like people are going to go the mana regen instead. I'm not sure. Alright, Gaba is, I'm sure, praying from the heavens. He's not dead. Just really excited. Base armor increased by 1. Base strength decreased by 2. Base agi nerfed. Strength gain increased. Okay, so good and bad is he does have really bad base armor, so he's actually pretty easy to physically harass early game if you don't cast Warcry. Having 2 less base strength is kind of bad. No longer decreases Sven's base damage. The bonus damage per strength decreased from 0.4 at early to 0. So until you get your ulti, you don't get bonus damage from this, but it doesn't decrease your base damage anymore, which is why they dropped your damage by 2, it looks like. However, once you get your ulti, it is going to do more damage. I don't know what the numbers are, but I would guess that this is going to be a buff to Sven, because you don't have to buy all these strength items just to get your base damage to a reasonable place. And as the game continues, the numbers are different. Like 0.2 times, let's say you have 150 strength or something crazy. We're talking a difference of 0.2 is I'm struggling to do math. My day has been too long. 0.2 times 100. It's just 20, right? Yeah, so you have 20 less damage potentially with God Strength maxed, but you probably don't lose like 15 damage or 10 damage or something at level 1 like you used to. So it's probably not bad. The heavy plate physical barrier amount has been increased by a tiny amount, but I don't think this facet is very fantastic, is my understanding. But physical barrier amount increased. Yeah, I don't know. This one doesn't seem very good, but at least, and it in some ways it was better because you had better base damage. But I don't know. I don't think Sven is a good support. I tried it semi recently and it just felt really bad. So I feel like this facet kind of just sucks. I don't believe in it. Stormhammer radius rescaled, worse early, better late by a little bit. Great cleave, worse early, equivalent late. Cleave end with worse early, even late. So the cleave is just way worse early game than it used to be. However, the damage is a little better. It's a little bit worse later, but I don't know. This is not the worst, I don't think. If you do need to jungle early, it's not as paralyzing, but because you don't really need the AoE that much early. You'll probably get less harass on opponents with only having like 4 cleave distance instead of 700. 700 is kind of like the whole wave, but anyways, Warcry bonus movement speed decreased. This just feels like nerfs to the hero, to be honest. Am I crazy? Maybe this is like so good that it offsets it. Like his win rate got increased from Wrath of God too much this change, so they had to like nerf a couple other small things. But and then 20 attack speed replaced with Vanquisher bonus damage. That's the bonus damage to stunned heroes, I believe.
Sven
Yeah,
stands ready.
that's your talent. So instead of 20 attack speed, which is probably a really big loss actually. I don't know. This seems like generic nerfs to the hero, but if your damage is just better, maybe it's worth it. Alright, techies. I think only got picked like once the tournament before this. Typically isn't a very good hero. His level 1 damage is increased by 3 because they're going to nerf some of his other stats. Yeah, Universal's just got nerfed, right? So he's gaining way less damage per level, like by a lot. His int gain is down. His agi gain is up. His strength gain is barely up. Spoon Stash is reworked. Techies stack all previously selected enchantments onto newly crafted neutral items. Okay, also allows to have 2 tier 5 enchantments by recrafting a tier 5 item. Oh, okay. So hypothetically, if you get to tier 5, you could apply 2 enchantments to your 1 tier 5 item, which is potentially good. Where's the tier 5 ones? These are all tier 4s. So you could have like cooldown reduction, 100 movement speed. You could have 100 attack speed, And cast range. You could have experience per minute and cooldown reduction. That's kind of good. However, I mean, it's kind of doing a similar thing, right? You're just getting extra passive benefits. You're gonna get some tier 1 item, some tier 1 bonus. There's 5 total, and you're gonna get 4 options, and you gotta pick one. Mana regen and magic resistance, that one seems decent. Health, attack speed, damage, no, there's no armor. Movement speed. I don't know, I'm probably taking like movement speed or something. And then the tier 2 ones are going to start stacking up. One of the downsides is you're getting cast range potentially in mana regen, but you'd lose max mana and you wouldn't be able to remove it ever. I feel like it's just like built into your hero. That kind of sucks. And then the tier 2 attack range, don't need that GPM bonus with attack damage reduction. Like hypothetically, it could be like greedy, which is kind of good. It just like works for the rest of the game. Mana pool, less attack damage, but it's not that big of a deal. Lifesteal spell, lifesteal. And then eventually you get them tier 4s. Debuff duration spell amp, that would be good with like spell lifesteal or something. These two would be kind of baller. Stacking them together looks kind of good. Slow resistance, base attack time, don't need that. Minus 15 int, yeah, it's not, that one's not going to feel good. BAT, status resistance, and that's tier 5s. The enhancements look kind of mediocre, I gotta say. Also allows to have, oh, I forgot that these scale up based on what level. I don't know, I have to play some games to like see how these feel. But typically Spoon Stash was the best one in my opinion. But I think this is a smart way to rework it. That way, because otherwise the neutral items might be a little bit too weird or broken or something. I don't know. It's gonna be cleaner, basically. So you don't get your backpack slots anymore. Which frankly just got a lot worse once they nerfed bracers and no talismans and wraith bands anyways. It was a lot better when that existed. Minefield sign, cast point decreased. Now also causes sticky bombs and proxy mines within the radius to deal 15% more damage. Okay, I'm into that. I always forget to use minefield sign when I play techies. I just completely forget. But the fact that it makes them deal more damage is kind of good. However, I don't know if I'm going to be casting it very often because I'm usually doing other stuff, but lowering the cast point is good. But your stun duration isn't really high enough to justify this, I don't think, in a chaotic team fight, but
I am Squeak.
it does make them invisible, so like they can't deal with it if you put it down. They just can't attack it. And 15% more damage when we're talking about spell amp and spell amp reduction, it could be useful. It's just maybe more of like a setup thing. I don't know, this hero still farms like incredibly fast, especially with the recent buff to proxy mines. I think support techies is weaker, but I don't know, maybe like core techies is good or something. Like I haven't tried mid techies in a long time, maybe I should. Because you can get that proxy mine cooldown to be really, really low. 12 seconds. Just slap a little Kaya on the hero and like farm quickly, I feel like. Is probably not that bad. Meteor Hammer? Meteor Hammer techies maybe? That could work. A lot of int, spell amp, spell lifesteal amplification, and then you just need to get like this lifesteal facet, and that would elongate your health a lot more. Maybe not Meteor Hammer because it's a lot of like channeling, and you kind of have shit to do usually, but because your chances of actually landing this on heroes is not high. But it would make it easier for you to push waves and siege towers, which is an upside. I don't know, maybe it's something there, but minimum Akaya is pretty good on the hero, and you could potentially like farm fast and cover the map. But you just need to translate into damage somehow is the thing. Like there has to be damage coming. Maybe like stun into Rod of Atos, into Minefield Sign or some shit. I don't fucking know. I'm not sure. Orchid techies. But you do less damage now, so it's worse. I don't know. TA agility gain increased. New facet. While in meld, TA gradually increases your attack range by up to an additional 400 range over the course of 1 second. Okay, so if you meld for 1 second, you're like winding up and like do this like crazy long range slap. That's kind of cool. Interesting. Sideblade range is decreased early, same later, and split damage is worse early, same later. Acceptor no longer grants plus 100 bonus damage. Sonic projection bonus damage upon arrival increased. It's that much? 375 damage? Damn. But I guess it's you used to get 100 bonus damage from the psionic trap that you jump to, so okay. It's like all in the physical attack now. 20 refraction damage replaced with plus 2-5 seconds meld debuff duration. Meld armor reduction replaced with 40 refraction damage. Okay, so your meld is weaker but better refraction damage. Meld debuff duration. Okay, so this is probably better for Roshan. You can probably rush a little bit better with this. Terrorblade, Terrorwave meta duration is a little better. 15 seconds is nice. This here is basically unchanged though. Conjure image damage is replaced with lowering the ability cooldown, reflection cooldown talent replaced. This is reflection, by the way, your first skill. This is a conjure image. That's your second skill. More duration instead if you want it. They did play TB today, but it lost. Krill Eater no longer reduces base strength. I mean, no surprise. Like, it was already really close. Like, genuinely, it was really not that different than the other one. I feel like it no longer reducing base strength is just going to justify in picking the hero now. Kraken Shell now has 50% block value against creeps. It can be activated to double the block amount at the cost of 40% movement speed, lasts 4 seconds. Huh. Cost mana and cooldown. Double the block amount at a cost of 40% movement speed. This could change up your skill build if you want.
Let's light the fuse.
I don't necessarily think it's good, but it makes the Kraken it makes this fast set way better because the damage block that you're getting is now going to be doubled later, which means that you won't be dying. However, the Krill Eater difference, like your strength is the same, your attack range is less, your anchor smash range is less, but you are gaining an extra half strength per level. So you're gaining what, 11 HP more per time you level up and half of a damage. So I just don't think that the attack range and the anchor smash radius matters that much. That's the problem. But having more strength is good. But yeah, it's effectively less movement speed. But it's becoming more and more even. I just don't think that we're going to see much movement on this, especially with this being added. 45 mana cost, 30-second cooldown. Doubles the amount. 40% is a lot. That's like 150 movement speed or something. Alright, Timbersaw, Twisted Chakram mana cost is going up. Damage is about the same. Regular Chakram mana cost is up. Pass damage is decreased. Magic resistance is removed. This one was too good, I think. Replaced with exposure therapy. Heals for 7 HP per tree destroyed. Okay. So it gives you the ability to heal instead. But yeah, losing just built-in magic resistance is going to make the hero way easier to kill. Tinker Ag Scepter, current maximum health reduction from laser is increased. Laser damage increased from 40 to 50. Rearm, talent rearm grants 50% bonus magic resistance replaced with plus 10 seconds defense matrix duration. So spamming that on your team is going to be a little bit better. Dang it. Greetings. And the regular duration is 15 seconds. Wow, so that's a pretty big duration. And a lot of status resistance potentially. Okay. Looks pretty good. And or laser AoE decreased. Oh. Well, it gives you a laser AoE if you want it at 25, but it's a little bit worse. Okay. I don't know why they're doing these buffs, and they're probably like very specific cases where the hero's a little bit too good. Crash Landing and Toss. Bonus landing damage decreased. This one was just too good. It's going to be the same at all levels now. Nerf the tiny here. No longer deals bonus damage to tossed units. Okay. But the damage is just increased at all levels. So... And then the damage for toss is up. I mean, this is still a lot of damage. You're doing like 760. It's still a lot of damage, but it's definitely going to be really noticeable. Your burst is going to be weaker. Conda just got nerfed as well. So, between Conda getting nerfed and this getting nerfed, I think Tiny mid is probably just dead right away. It's just gone. This isn't enough damage anymore, I don't think. I think Tiny right click is still going to be good. And Tiny right click hybrid was good because of Conda basically. You can still get it potentially, but it's just not going to be the same. It's probably just dead. Which doesn't look good. Alright, Treant Protector, Nature's Guide. Guys, Ag's Shard will not turn Treant Protector invisible if he's currently attacking anybody. Thank God. This was really annoying. Just really, really annoying. Living armor mana cost decreased. And the heal per second increase. Okay, it's a better 1-point wonder skill. It's kind of expensive to use before. You just don't get that much heal and that much armor for that long. So dropping the mana cost I think is nice. This is giving us quality of life change, but ultimately these aren't hardy buffs at all. Nature's Gap's cooldown replaced with plus 2.5 Nature's Gap's movement speed. How much does this even give you?
Nature is not always
10% movement speed bonus built in. 2.5% increase when you're on a tree. I don't know, man. Who cares? 7.5 movement speed. It's so bad. It's so fucking bad. Who cares? Why is that there? Why is that there? Does it get increased in any way? I don't think so. It's just garbage. 7.5 movement speed talent? Ugh. Why? I don't know why they did this. The hero's not viable right now in high level games. Kind of goofy. Yeah, kind of goofy. I mean, is the living armor buff at least good? I mean, you're getting 15 more heal on an ally. You're healing an ally for 45 HP on a 30-second cooldown with a skill point. It's just not good. It's less mana, but you're trading like 1 mana for 1 HP, which is not a great trade. Sure, 4 bonus armor can make the difference, but I don't know, man. I don't like this. I've been playing Tree a little bit lately. This just look like nerfs. I mean, this one's slightly better, but I don't know, man. Who cares? Troll Warlord bad influence. During Battle Trance, Troll has increased max fervor stacks and no attack speed limit. Battle Trance grants allied heroes 50% of the attack speed bonus. Okay. So they still get the attack speed bonus, and the battle max fervor stats is 15. So you can still give your allies a lot of attack speed bonus, which can be useful sometimes, but Agshar no longer increases max stacks. I didn't know that it did. And Battle Trance follows global lifesteal rules. As a result, 40% creep penalty. It's still a pretty bad ultimate, but I have gotten this one before if I have a lot of right clickers on the team. It's kind of cool. And the Eggs is still kind of good, potentially. So I don't think it's terrible, but Troll's ultimate it can be really, really garbage sometimes. Tusk Drinking Buddies cooldown decreased. Movement bonus rescaled to be worse. Walrus Kick push distance decreased. Slow duration decreased. Damage increased. Can no longer be cast while snowballed. Okay. Probably fair. Probably very fair. You just blink, you snowball, you kick him. 10 talent. 25 tag team Drinking Buddies damage replaced with 2 seconds tag team Drinking Buddies buff duration. That's pretty good. I like this. Less of a oh, it's just increasing my punch damage. It's going to be harder to solo kill as a result, but what's the other one? Walrus Punch Thunder. Oh, that one's really good too, though.
The first heat is free.
But plus 2 Drinking Buddies duration is quite good. If you can do this for 8 seconds on your core instead of just 6, it's kind of helpful. Or even this 8 seconds of bonus damage on one guy. That's like a huge amount of time, but. Underlord, Firestorm Radius replaced with Atrophy Aura Duration. And Firestorm burn damage decreased a little bit. It was too good apparently. Pit of Malice Root. These are the ones that everybody gets basically. And the other one I think is it Firestorm cooldown at 10 or something else? Oh, the Invading Force bonus. Ugh, those 10 talents don't look good. They don't feel good. Invading Force movement. I mean that's this one here, the teleport one. Atrophy Aura Duration. Duration goes up to 60. It's like slightly better than skilling the point. So that left 10 talent is just bad. Like just makes more sense to skill Atrophy Aura every single time. It's kind of goofy. I don't know, man. Undying Decay damage is up by 10. Soul Rip mana cost is down. Flesh Golem Slow is a little bit worse, but still good. Talent Decay damage decreased by 10. So they built it into the regular hero a little bit better. So better for Undying support. A little bit worse for Undying core. I mean, people usually get this talent anyways. But is my understanding. Is that our Tombstone cooldown? I mean, they're both good. Ursa, Furious Swipes reset time decrease. Yeah, this one was kind of wild, like how long that shit would last on you. And then Fierce Swipes damage. Really, man, this is really just in the gutter. That talent has fallen so far. It used to be so good.
Ursa Warrior.
Now it's just 5 extra damage per Fury Swipe. When it does 37, It's better, but it's like not that much better. But it does add up, you know. If you're attacking somebody like 10 times, it's probably like 2 to 300 damage difference, which is kind of a lot. All right, Venge is now an agility hero again. Okay, base damage increased by 17. Damage at level 1 is 4 less. It's kind of a huge fucking deal. Strength gain is way better. Agility gain is way better. Int gain is better. Like, this is a huge difference. These numbers are gigantic. And then the damage gain per level is decreased by not actually that much. Okay, so she's going to have more attack speed, like a lot more attack speed, just by leveling. She's going to have pretty comparable damage, which isn't that bad because her aura increases her damage based on how much base damage she has, right? And her damage at level 30 is worse. But because of her BAT, I don't think this is really that bad. Why is this popping up? I specifically set my shit to do not disturb and it's telling me somebody's adding me as a friend. Like, bad design. Retribution bonus damage increased by 10 to 20. I think that's the when somebody kills you and you are avenging them back. Whenever your hero kills Venge, they get a debuff until their next death, causing me to deal 20 bonus damage. Okay. Which is great with Ags. Somebody kills you and then you deal 20% damage more back to them. It's kind of cool. I think this is probably still fine on the hero. Not being able to buy generic stat items I don't think is that big of a deal, because items like Ags or Sanjiasha, like Ags was definitely good on the hero. It was giving you like 15 to 17 damage or something. It was probably giving you like closer to 20, actually 10. Yeah, it was giving you 21 damage. Now it's only going to give you 10 damage because of the agility, but the fact that you're getting a lot more agility gain, I mean 10, this is a huge difference. Over the course of 10 levels, you've gained 10 more agility. So like, this is probably fine. And with your low BAT, you're going to be attacking quick, like really quick. So I don't think this is that bad for the hero. I'm not too worried about this. Venomancer base damage increased by 21. Strength gain is about the same. Agility gain is way better. Int gain is better. Damage per level is not that bad. Seems fine. It's not that bad. More mana is good. Slightly more armor is good. I'm not too upset. Nosedive now also releases Nether Toxin on lane. I already love the Ags, baby. Buff it some more. Multiple Nether Toxins do not stack. So this basically means that you don't have to use the Nether Toxin just to, like, you can use it to farm too. It's actually, Ags is actually so good now, genuinely. Because you can use Ags just to nosedive farm. What's the cooldown on this thing? 20 seconds. So you have a 14-second cooldown Nether Toxin, and you have a 20-second cooldown Nether Toxin. It's basically like having 2 charges of Nether Toxin. You don't even use nosedive that often. It's kind of made to like get in front of your opponents to get closer. That way you're applying Nether Toxin or you're applying Corrosive Skin in an AoE, and it lowers the attack speed by 4 times. It's like a huge amount. It's like 120 attack speed instead of like 32, right? So you can really drop their attack speed. The fact that you get another Toxin on top of it makes Caustic Bath so much better. Because his Nether Toxin corrosive effects are increased while he's on top of it. So if you jump in and you get another Toxin on top of you and you stand there for 4 seconds, the values are going to get increased even harder. So your attack speed slow is going to increase more, your magic resistance is going to increase, the damage per second that you're dealing is going to be increased. That's why the damage per second talent is kind of good with it. Oh, they changed this 10 talent actually. They reduced the poison attack magic resistance reduction, replaced it with +1 Viper Strike duration. This is also a really good talent because Viper Strike is fantastic at breaking 6 seconds. It's a really long duration. It's fantastic for like your bristlebacks and specters and things like that. So I imagine almost all pros are going to get this talent. However, if you do plan to go an Ags build, the 20 damage per second one is probably better. Just because you are dealing a little bit more damage. However, the 1 Viper Strike duration, like as you level up it can do some pretty chunky damage. It's like closer to like 200 some damage if you get the Viper Strike damage on. Become universal replaced with another Tox radius, increased by 25 every half seconds. Okay, and it lasts for a total of 8 seconds. So over the course of 8 seconds, we're talking about 200 radius. And the base radius is 400, so it's 50% bigger radius. So that's pretty wild, actually. I think Caustic Bath just looks a little bit better in some ways. However, Poison Burst is definitely better for farming. But almost all pros do not get it. They all get Poison Burst. So I'm definitely wrong here, but I think there's some potential with the Ags build if you do go for it. Visage, got a couple heroes left. Base damage is higher now. Strength gain is higher. Agi gain is higher. Int gain is higher. Damage per level is worse. So your right click is just simply weaker. They buffed Grave Chill to give you a little bit more attack speed from the secondary targets. That way you can make up for your DPS decrease if you do want to right click with your primary hero now that it's worse. However, again, more attack speed, more HP, a little bit more int. It's not all bad. And then this one, Familiar Gold Bounty, decreased from 70 to 50. This is the bad one for like players that don't want to micro, but for some reason want to play Visage. Grave Chill cooldown replaced with +4 Lurker max stacks. What does that do again? I don't remember. Lurker. Every 2 seconds, when he doesn't take damage, they grant cooldown reduction, cooldown acceleration with a max of 8 stacks. Stacks fade upon 2 seconds after taking damage. So that means you can get up to another 4 stacks, which is another 8% cooldown reduction. So you can get like a 24% cooldown reduction when you're not taking damage, which is going to be really good for resummoning familiars. So that's kind of good. However, it's now Visage and Familiar's attack damage, or Lurker max stacks to get your cooldown reduction. Okay. Void Spirit damage is increased at base, strength gains up, agi gains up, int gain, I'm sorry, that's int gain is up, strength is up, no agi. Strength and int, more mana, more strength. Damage per level is strictly worse by quite a lot. This is probably going to affect his win rate a decent amount, because you do inherently attack a lot. With your ulti, of course. Aether damage is up a tiny bit, which will help compensate slightly for your ganks. So, pretty boring. Not really any change. Warlock basically just got an increase. Base damage increased by 3. Damage at level 1 increased by 3 up and 3 base. Yeah, just 3 more damage on average with your right click. He doesn't have good agility, so it's not like an insane amount of damage, but and then they nerfed up people. The slow linger duration decreased from 3 to 1. So if you channel this and it ends or people walk out of it, it's not going to last nearly as long. But I don't think that's that big of a deal. It's not really like the best skill right now. The best skill is Shadow Word and Fatal Bonds. Weaver, attacks to destroy increased. For heroes increased to 3, 4, 4, 5, so it makes a second point a little bit more value, but pretty small. And then Wind Ranger, Mira thought that Wind Ranger looked really strong, so let me read through this quick, more carefully. Level 1 damage is about the same, base int is worse, strength gain's way better, agility gain's better, int gain is way better, damage per level is not that much worse. However, they removed Focus Fire and Whirlwind facets. Alright, Tangled. Shackle Shot applies to all units and trees behind the target, each granting Wind Ranger bonus attack damage for 6 seconds. For everyone that you catch somebody on. Each Shackled hero provides this much bonus damage, while trees and other units provide 50% less. Primary Shackle Shot target doesn't provide any damage. Okay, so that's assuming there are trees behind the trees that are getting like tangled up. You're getting a bunch of bonus stun. But if you shackle like a hero to a hero, the primary one doesn't provide any damage, but I bet the guy that it's tied to probably does. So it's just bonus right click damage. Shackle into right click damage for 6 seconds. Okay. Power Shot, Kill Shot. The arrow instantly executes enemy heroes below a certain health threshold, kind of like AI Blast. Threshold linearly increases with the channel time. Okay. Min execute is 5%, max is up to 12. Health for execution is calculated after the arrow hits. Okay. I know my friend Blanket really liked this this old shard because he wanted to like kill people with it, but it increased the cast range a lot. I didn't think it was good. This one's not bad though. It's gonna help you get pick off kills. Shackle Shot is more right click. Power Shot is more like doing other things on the hero. Mana cost is better early, but worse late. Gale Force mana cost is up. Shackle Shot cooldown replaced with 25 easy breezy min max movement speed, which I believe is your minimum movement speed.
The markswoman of the wood.
And your max is now higher as well. So your minimum is higher and your max is higher. That talent was typically the one that everybody took for Eons, and then Power Shot damage replaced with Power Shot slow duration. This is unfortunate you lost this right before this, but +1 Power Shot slow duration. Slow duration's 4. And then the other Power Shot reduction at 15 is -15 reduction. So that means as it goes through things, it's going to be reduced less and less. It looks appealing, I gotta say. But it's probably not as good as Wind Run cooldown, which is just it's her best skill by far, unfortunately, if you want to go for a nuke build. Wyvern's int again, base strength up, damage is 1 worse, strength gain up, agi gain up, int gain up, damage per level is worse, base attack speed increase, so more attack speed, less damage, remove Essence of Blueheart and Dragon Sight, so they got rid of both. The one was the heal based on, or mana gain based on heal, and the other one was damage based on distance, right? Alright, Winterproof. Cold Embrace can be cast on buildings. Chosen building isn't healed, but still protected from physical. Affected units or buildings gain 60% bonus attack damage after the Cocoon thaws. It's cool. If the building is under the effect of Cold Embrace and Glyph, the buff duration is paused. Lane creeps don't have this interaction. Okay. So you can't like grief your teammates with it, which is good. Pretty into it. You could use it and then use Glyph, and then all of a sudden your tower is like shredding. Winter's Curse makes all affected enemies take 125% of physical, magical, and pure damage from Winter Wyvern. Take 125% of physical. Okay, so they take bonus damage. However, whenever the cursed enemy dies, Winter's Curse is recast on the lowest health enemy hero affected by the curse. Recast has min, max, and bonus durations equal to 50% of the default spell. Okay. So if there's just 2 heroes and one of them kills the other one, it will be recast on the main hero, but it's not going to last very long. But if there's a lot of heroes there, then it could kind of continue for a while. So it makes Winter's Curse better, without a doubt. And yeah, the person you're using on is going to take bonus damage. So hypothetically, you could go like a right-click build to make this better. This is pretty garbage, though, I don't think. It's extremely limited use case. This will probably get buffed a couple different ways and then not ever used, I imagine. But it can be nice to block a building. Not being able to heal it, I think, is a little bit... Maybe that's the next place they'll buff it, but I feel like it's kind of bad right now. Eldworm Sculling applies to Shrines of Wisdom instead of remove Wisdom Runes. Okay, so you still get the... your team gets bonus levels, right? Grants experience to allies. When Wisdom grants it to allies, you share the knowledge with her entire team, granting 20% of the experience to each of the 3 heroes that did not collect the initial bonus. Shares the knowledge, granting 20% of the experience each. Yeah. Winter's Curse affected units no longer take increased magic and pure damage bonus from Winter Wyvern by default. Oh, so it's just... This one's just worse. How much bonus is it? So it's just even like a buff? She's just kind of like worse. She has more stats, which is okay, but I don't know. This just seems bad. Tower Fast is good for base racing. I mean, the very specific use case. I mean, you can cast on buildings and it'll do a blast afterwards, so it's like a little bit better with Shard that you can Cold Embrace buildings while they're sieging, but I don't know. This just seems bad, and this just seems like a replacement of what she had before, so just bad. Not a good. Voodoo Festration is gone, which is fine. The Headhunter one, the bounce does more damage one is good, and I think the split Death Ward one is actually fine. I think it's actually pretty good. Maledict Burst damage replaced with 1% target max health Voodoo heal. That's great because it's at 20. It used to be at like 25 when it was a talent. 1% max heal is 10 HP per 1,000 that they have. So if they have 2,000 health, you're healing an extra 20 HP per second. Slap a locket on that baby, and you got some heal going on. Plus 2% target max of health Voodoo Restoration replaced with plus 8 Maledict Duration. Ooh, that sounds fun. Which doctor am I? 8 seconds. This lasts for 12, so a 20-second Maledict. That's crazy. 20-second Maledict. Good luck BKBing that shit. I think you have to apply it pre-BKB, but it does stay. It doesn't get dispelled. So if you apply that pre-BKB, 20-second Maledict on a hero, that seems pretty cool. Alright, Wraith King and Zeus are usually the last 2, yeah. Alright, Bone Guard. Hero kills now give 2 skeleton charges, cool. 10 talent, plus 25 Wraithfire Blast, impact, damage, DPS. Oh, there's different talents based on what facet you choose. Okay, so instead of Wraithfire Blast, impact, damage, DPS, it's replaced with the Bone Guard duration cooldown. Okay, is this always like this? No, I don't think so. So this makes Bone Guard better, like the old one where you could spam it more. The 60 attack speed replaced with plus 5 Bone Guard skeletons spawned at 20. So if you want to scale, this talent's quite good though. I think the other one's Cleave though. So I guess if you're really worried about right-clicking, you would go this one still. If you didn't have any AoE for some fucking reason. However, if you go something like Bloodthorn build, the Bone Guard skeleton spawn is quite good. I wonder if it's worth getting a drum on Wraith King now. Strength and int is kind of bad. But you could like summon skeletons and drum them every single time. It's kind of a cool idea. Spectral Blade, Wraithfire, Blast, Impact, Damage, DPS replaced with Spectral Blade Curse damage. This is pretty good. The Spectral Blade is an Amper. Increases the damage you deal by 50%. So this would up it to 65% for that first duration. It can increase your team's damage by a lot. And then the 20 talent, 60 attack speed replaced with Spectral Blade Curse cooldown, which against heroes, we're talking 12 seconds, it could drop to 9. And against creeps, 4.5. I'm a little sad, I actually kind of like these talents a lot, but... Oh, he still has attack speed. This is wrong. This says it replaced attack speed, but the attack speed is right there. They removed the cleave one. Let's check the other one. No, it's the same for both, so this is wrong on both, it looks like. Talent line below? Oh. But why does it say the cleave is replaced with 60 attack speed, and then it says the attack speed is replaced with bone guards? That's just an error. Just a straight up error. Whatever. Cleave is gone, which is fine. It's the one that I never took it, I always took the attack speed. Okay, the attack speed still exists for both. However, if you want more bone guard skeletons, you can summon them. They will increase your farm speed. You can push with them. You could summon them all, and then stun a guy, and Bloodthorn and do a shitload of damage. That's kind of cool. Especially if you get like Abyssal Blink Bloodthorn. You have to blink, summon skeletons, abyssal him, ideally bash him in there, or throw your stun, which you do have bonus stun duration. So if you get like blink, stun, basher maybe, blink, stun, basher, summon your dudes, pop drum, got like 13 skeletons wailing on a guy dealing bonus magic damage. It could work. It could work. Alright, Zeus. Live wire min damage increased based on the levels that you're scaling. The max damage increase. This hero was pretty popular pre-patch, by the way. Amp per hero increased by 10%. That's fair. This one was really hard to use. I felt like it was not very popular. And then the mana cost of this is up, jump radius is decreased, and then heavenly jump leap distance is rescaled to be weaker early if you don't level it up, and the slow duration is decreased. Vision rate is now affected by changes to area effect. Okay, cool. All right, that's it. We done. Didn't miss that much in the last like 30%. Anyways, let me see where the homies are in terms of queuing. I'm gonna change this to online. Oh, I have to turn off Do Not Disturb. I assume the stacks are going. Oh, they're just sitting as 3. What's going on over here? Are they waiting for Shiva, or are they just set to online?